Hi, and welcome to Aunty K's Tarot. We are here today to talk about ways to practice in learning tarot without asking yourself a whole bunch of questions all in one day and, you know, possibly driving yourself crazy asking the same question too frequently instead of moving it along. So, there are various ways to practice and deepen your understanding of tarot. And like all things, if you want to, constantly increase your knowledge, you must constantly learn and practice. And so these are things we're going to talk about here on this channel at times. And that will include guidebooks and reference books, but also, practicing with the cards. So I do call circle when I do this. I don't always pull out my sponge bowl, and I'm an Indigenous woman, every time I need to call circle, especially since it's something I do for myself and others frequently. So I don't want to use my herbal medicines that heavily, so sometimes I will call circle with something else, such as the selenite wand. So there are lots of ways you can do that because you need to consider that also in your various practices. How heavy is my practice on the resources that I use? Okay, so one of my methods of practicing is I take a deck and I divide it into 2 to 3 piles after calling circle and letting the spirits know that I am here for learning. So I'm not looking for personal messages, I'm looking for learning. And I divide the deck into 3 piles or 2. In this one I've done 3, and I'm using the Star Spinner Tarot. And I do check to see sometimes what my shadow card is, and it is the Seven of Cups. And so I'll keep that in mind, various Seven of Cups things that I might want to be aware of, as I'm looking at these readings. And other times what I'll do, however, is sort of give myself a topic or a question before I turn the cards over. So I flip the cards over, and I flip the first 3 over. And I think first about keywords, something I know about this. And if it might take me, a minute to do like a quick roundup story of this, or it might take me 5 minutes. I don't go on forever and ever because part of the aim is to go through the whole deck. And when I go through the whole deck in this way, I also get to know this deck a little bit better. So I really like to do this, especially with a new deck. So another thing I'll be open to is if I see new insights or old insights that I'm perhaps not pulling forward frequently enough in my practice, I might go more in depth there, and I allow that to happen, and I think of that as a learning lesson as opposed to a personal message that I need to get going with, because you shouldn't practice shouldn't have you busy like running around doing 15 different spiritual messages all at once. This wouldn't be very effective. And even when I'm learning, I prepare space. And I had a lesson about that as I was getting started. I put on coffee. And I have been, making commitment to drink coffee like once or twice a day. And not when I'm doing this kind of work, because it's usually not ideal. There are times where I feel called to have a coffee, but I had a coffee because I wanted it and I spilled it. And at first your mind wants to go to, it's a message, I shouldn't do this. Well, then the equipment would have failed. I spilled my coffee because I wasn't supposed to have coffee, and I know that this is the time for a tea or an apple cider. So That's the other thing that I do. So now we're going to get started. So we have the Four of Wands, which we know is about creating celebratory space, relationships, stuff like that. We have the King of Swords, who is a court card, so we know this represents a person who probably you want to create this celebratory space with. But we also see the Tower. And we know that the Tower is calling for some sort of major change. And I'm just going to see if I can pull these closer. Okay, so we know that the Tower is calling for some sort of major change. And so we wonder, what kind of major change might this be that we are seeing? Are we seeing that this isn't the right relationship? What's going on? Well, the shadow card was the Seven of Cups. So if we want to have this relationship that we're seeing here, that we want to create with the King of Swords, then we need to define this relationship better. We need to define our wishes, our wants, and needs within the relationship better. What do we realistically want and can have out of this relationship? What do we realistically want and can give out of this relationship? And we really need to change this and create a new system and structure that functions for this relationship if we want this to work out. Otherwise, we're going to see a different kind of tower where it falls down. And so this is just a method of practice. Pull up 3 more cards. So we know that the Four of Swords wants us to get some rest from swords or difficulties, all the difficulties that we have been going through, and all the decisions we are trying to make. It's time to take a moment of rest so that we can come back to this more clear-headedly. We have the High Priestess who, the High Priestess sees secrets and knows things and can look into things really, really deeply. And we have Temperance, who talks about patience and balance. And, this kind of works together, that we need some rest. We need to take our time if we want to see what is unknown. We're not going to be able to do it all at once. And so if we want this unknown that we are looking for, if we want this deeper understanding, we can't do it all at once. We have to take the time for rest. We have to be patient and look at all the possibilities if we are going to allow this insight of the High Priestess. And here we have the Six of Coins. And this is where we know that you need to feed yourself. You need to look after yourself and get needs met. Or you are doing too much of this and you need to meet the needs of others. We have the Fool, who lets us know we are starting a new journey, generally a spiritual journey, learning or understanding. And the, Fool has the most very basic needs here in this pouch, which we imagine are the symbols of the tarot, from the major arcana to the 4 elements, and is ready to just leap into this great unknown and figure out a new path on a new journey. And, each deck has its own flavor. And in this one, our Fool is still the Fool. They're still going to do what they're going to do. But they're taking a moment to hug themselves, give themselves a little bit of confidence that, yes, okay, I can do it. Like, it's okay to do that for a moment before you jump in like the Fool. And we have a message here about hard work. Okay, and we remember that the Seven of Cups wants us to figure out, what we want that's really viable. And we know that we have needs that need to be met. And we know that it is going to take hard work. Um, and the Fool tells us we are going to need to go about it in a new way. There is a lesson to learn in this for us, which means that one of these beliefs of ours is not what we think. We have a new lesson here to learn, And so we might think, what is the lesson that we need to learn? Sorry. So, take a good look at how they are interacting. All right. Everybody's kind of looking down. Oops. I got them facing me in this direction. It looks like to you that, but it was here. So I'm seeing it backwards. Sorry. This is the life of trying to turn cameras around. We want to see where everyone's facing. So these needs that, what needs to change? What part of this needs to change? This part. This part's in the past, and the Six of Coins is looking in a different direction than the Fool. The Fool is looking towards a new direction that's going to take a lot of hard work. So when we pull this together, we know that we need to meet our needs in a new and different way. And we're going to need to learn something new in the journey of doing this. Because that's what the Fool is here to tell us about that. And sometimes it's just that messy. Okay, we have the Four of Coins, the Eight of Wands, and the Page of Wands. And we see the Page of Wands heading off in a direction for adventure. And the arrows are coming in ahead of him. It's all coming in on target. But the Four of Coins over here is looking down at this Page of Wands. And, sees all this and admires all this, but is really afraid of whether or not they can climb down from this tower and let go of, these coins. I think that it's Rapunzel in a tower, and what a tower means in tarot, and it's the Four of Coins where we're afraid to let go of something. And coins are part of those structures that, provide us safety and security, but also hurt and harm us. They're part of the tower structure. So I think it's important that this is coming together. So this would be saying that, the Four of Coins is really afraid to come down from the structure and system that they see as safe in providing them some security. They're afraid to let go of it, even though they are lonely and desperate to not be in this tower anymore. And, they see the Page of Wands coming in to them, and, this is definitely a romantic feeling, and the Page is doing everything right, and they are attracted to them, but they're afraid. They're afraid and aren't sure if they're actually going to come down from their tower and have said relationship. So we have the World, the Ten of Swords, and Strength. So the World, opposite of the Fool, tells us that we're at the end of a journey, and, a new one will be coming, but the Ten of Swords tells us, the end of this journey, it comes with a whole lot of pain, and wounds, and, it's been a brutal, brutal journey. And the idea of getting this journey all wrapped up just to start a new one seems really too much right now. Like, I can't possibly finish this just to start a new journey. And so the world, tells the injured peacock that, it's okay. You have within you the strength you need to do this. And I promise when you get back up and you pull those swords out of your back, you are going to find that you have the strength and the desire to start this new journey with all your inner beauty. And then we have the Moon and the Queen of Cups and the Lovers. And so we are looking at a love reading where the person, the Queen of Cups, is looking towards having a relationship, and they are so in love with this person, and the Moon is standing behind you saying, I don't know, maybe this isn't real, maybe you're going to face rejection, I don't know about this. And we look at the shadow card, which is the Seven of Cups, and it says, well, Moon does have something to say. Moon does have something to say. Maybe if you're so in love with this person, what you need to figure out is, are they offering what, you really need? Do you even know what it is you really need? And maybe if you two figure these things out, then you won't have to worry about the whisperings from the Moon. You'll know for yourself whether that is true or not. And so that's how I would do those. Now, you get different feels with different decks, right? You get different feels with different decks. So today, for the general community reading, I was using the Raven's Prophecy. And, we talked about those shadow cards. So it's a Four of Coins. Right? And with my general community readings in the mornings, I have two cards and an oracle card. And it's off in the guidance. I don't always know the shadow card. Sometimes I look at it afterwards and I'm like, oh, good job, good job. That matched up. And so one set today was Temperance and the Six of Swords. And, we know that Temperance is about balance and doing it patiently and taking your time and being accurate and keeping it in this very even flowing balance that is ruled by logic. Anyway, and we have the Six of Swords where you're moving on from something that hurts. And in this case, the image, instead of moving in a ship, is a cleansing, a washing of your hands. And so we're able to look at it differently based on this deck, that we are talking about a cleansing and a healing from both of these. And, that often comes with needing to let go of something, which you need to in the Four of Coins. And one of the other ones today was the Emperor and the Queen of Wands. And well, we need to let go of something. And in this, we see the Emperor represented, in this more intuitive deck by just a sword and a crown, And we know that the Queen of Wands is about determination, and there's some similarity to that with the Emperor, and you might get a better balance if that determination takes hold of the sword of decision, leaves that crown of ego and control behind, right? And so even with a more intuitive deck, you can take insight from these images. And so you can see how working in a deck with the same way would be very similar. And it is very similar when I pull up these readings with like 2 cards. It is very similar to this practice. And the same, if you're doing a lot of back-to-back readings for people and they're going to be shorter, this sort of practice can be really useful. And you're like, well, it's an intuitive deck. Aren't you just reading intuitively? Yes, but much like acting, where you need to practice, learning improv, so that if you miss the lines for a moment, they aren't there right away, you can do this. You can do improv, and it's going to bring everything back on track, and those lines are going to come, and you're going to slip back into the way the play, the script of the play. And so if you do a practice like this, where you're putting things in piles and pulling through each card so-and-so at a time, it can help in your tarot readings, because it can help your ability to bring out some instant key things out of those cards really quickly. And that often is really all that's needed to get a flow going for the messages that are going to come with that. And it's a practice that can be much like, if you're looking through a guidebook and what jumps out of you, that's the part you're going to run with. Well, if you're doing it this way and you practice it doing it this way, different things are going to jump out at you each time, especially if you do it regularly, and it will increase your repertoire. And then when you're doing it in a reading, those words that jump out at you at first, they're probably and most often going to be like the start of that message. And it's like, it's a prompt. And to be like, okay, I'm going, come on, let's start listening and moving and talking. And so this is really good practice for getting that going. And I hope that is really helpful for everybody. And I will be going through various types of techniques, as well as going into decks and cards specifically at times as well. So it will be a different look and a different way of seeing each time. And I hope you all enjoy your day. See you later.